is Eric. Today I'm going to show you some exercises that are focused around the core. We will do them mostly standing and sitting. There will be nothing that requires you to get on the floor with this set of exercises. The total time that we're going to be working out together will be somewhere between 40 and 45 minutes. Make sure you've got some water handy just in case you get thirsty, and a towel in case you get a little sweaty. I'm using a chair that is about a counter height chair, so a little taller than a regular kitchen chair. You can use whatever height chair you want to. For some of these exercises, the lower the chair is, the more difficult it is. For other exercises, the higher the chair is, the more difficult it is. This works well for me for range of motion and things. So I'm going to get started. We're going to start off with arm circles. Arm circles are simply that. I've just got my arms up about shoulder height. I'm circling them forward. You can change your speed with which you circle these. You can change your angle with which you circle these. I'll come a little bit closer. You can see that if I get tired or if I have shoulder related issues, this could be a little uncomfortable. So I can always bring my arms down lower and do the same movement down here. And I can kind of go up and back depending on, or back up higher basically, depending on how my arms are feeling at the time. We're going to be doing this for about 2 minutes, so feel free to go up and down based on how you're feeling. And we're going to change directions here in just a minute also. A couple of things to keep in mind while you're doing these exercises, all of these exercises. Keep moving your arms as you want to keep your core muscles, so your tummy and your glute muscles engaged as much as possible. You want to remember to breathe. The tendency is when people are exercising and they're trying to work their cores, they forget to breathe. They hold their breath a lot. So do try to remember to breathe effectively while you're doing things. We're going to let them down for just a brief second, shake them out if they're getting kind of burny, bring them back up, and we're going to go backwards now. The premise is the same. We're still doing the same circular movement. We can do bigger circles if we want to. We can do itty bitty tiny circles and do them really fast. The speed, the size of the circle is really going to be dependent on how you're feeling at the time. And again, if your arms are feeling tired and you want to bring them down here a little bit lower, that's fine as well. You'll see that I kind of move back and forth and kind of dance around a little bit. That's just because I've never been good at standing still or sitting still. You can ask my mom. That's just how I am. Got about another 30 seconds, and then I'll let your arms stop moving for a little bit. Again, while you're doing it, try to keep those tummy muscles engaged. Try to keep those glute muscles just slightly engaged. We don't have to be squeezing so tight that it's hard to breathe. I say engaged, that's just like, if you're ever in the military, it's kind of like standing at attention. If you're never in the military, it's just a very light bit of tension. It's not really sucking in your gut or anything along those lines. We're going to let the arms down. And we're going to do a little bit of marching. We're going to stay standing unless you get fatigued. You can always sit down. I'll show a modification. But marching right now is just low knees. We're still kind of in a warm-up phase here. So we're going to keep the knees a little bit lower. I tend to, I tend to move my arms as I march. It really is a part of balance, allowing your arms to move with you. It does also, of course, make other muscles work. So if you're in this to burn calories versus just to get a little bit stronger or just for movement, moving your arms uses more muscles and thereby burns more calories. Good, we're going to keep going. And again, I'm not going real fast because I'm demonstrating, trying to talk, trying to make sure that you understand what it is that we're doing. You can go faster. You can also go slower. I'm also going to show you, I'm going to sit down in my chair here. You can do the same thing sitting, right? So I can still sit and march. And if I'm sitting and marching and my balance is kind of screwy, I can also put my hands down on the chair lightly. I don't want to lift myself here, but lightly. For a little extra balance, just hands on the chair to give myself a little bit of support that way as well. But if you don't need to hold on, and you can hold your body relatively up straight while you're doing this, try to march and move your arms at the same time. We're going to still do this for about another minute. Just keep going. A lot of things that I'll have you do are not for a specific number of repetitions. They're really more for time. We do it for time because life isn't about 15 reps or anything along those lines. We do literally thousands of movements within our day. So the idea of doing 15 repetitions of something is not particularly functional. All right, about another 20 seconds. Good, just remember, keep breathing. When you're sitting, it's difficult to engage those glute muscles, right? Difficult to squeeze the cheeks back there, but you can still keep the tummy muscles engaged. So do remember to do that. All right, we're gonna put the legs out sort of a V shape here. We're gonna take the hands, we're gonna reach to the opposite foot, okay? Now, because we're sitting at the edge of the chair, if you reach too far, you're gonna fall out of the chair. So don't worry about trying to get all the way down there. You're just, hand is reaching down toward that opposite foot. This is engaging those abdominal muscles a little bit more specifically. It's a bigger arc because we're trying to do, a bit of a big rotation with the hand reaching down toward the foot. Later, we're going to do a slightly different type of a movement that activates similar muscles. So we're using those oblique abdominals a little bit more when we do this. The other thing I want you to be cautious about, because we're still in the warm-up phase, is don't try to do big twists, because especially if you have a low back related issue, trying to do a big twist this early on into an exercise is probably going to hurt you. So keep it at a pace that feels good to you. Keep it at a pace that feels like you can continue this for, again, about another 35, 40 minutes, right? Because we're still early on in the warm-up phase here, without feeling like you're straining yourself at this point. And certainly you shouldn't be feeling any kind of sharp or stabbing pain with anything that we're doing. Good. Keep on going. Now, as you loosen up, as you feel a little bit more comfortable with things, you can certainly try to go a little bit deeper and a little bit deeper. And it might slow you down. You might not get as many repetitions. But again, we're not worried about counting repetitions right now. We're just worried about doing things that might be a functional movement. If doing this sitting, keep going. Doing this sitting is too easy for you. You can also challenge your balance a little bit more. This is very much like the calisthenics that many of us did as kids in physical education classes. You can certainly do this standing up version of it, where you reach down to the opposite foot this way. Now, this will challenge your balance more. It's going to mess with your blood pressure a little bit more. So do be sure that you're being cautious about this activity. It also is a bigger stretch on things. So as I come down here and I'm touching my toe, I'm stretching the backs of my legs quite a bit. So I need to be cautious again about flexibility. If I'm not warmed up enough, I shouldn't be trying to come down all the way to my toe. All right, I'm going to come back to the chair because the next one I'm going to show you again is going to be a sitting activity. So I'm going to do a couple more of what we were doing. All right, now we're going to bring the legs together, point the toes if they weren't before. And what we're going to do is we're going to reach forward a little bit, tighten up the tummy muscles as we go forward, and then we're going to lean back, tighten the tummy, reach overhead. Don't go all the way back to the back of the chair, and then come forward again. Reach down toward the toes, tummy tightens up. Keep the tummy tight, reach back, up overhead. And back down. So this is kind of like a reverse sit-up. And I'll tell you that if reaching your hands up overhead is too difficult, you can always just stop with hands at the shoulders. And this is a pretty good challenge for a lot of people, even just like that. Just come back up, hands at the shoulders. As you're sitting back, again, we are not trying to go all the way back against the chair. We want to miss the back of the chair by about an inch. And again, if you want more of a challenge, just bring the hands up overhead. See how this one feels first. And again, if this is still too easy, keep going with whatever you're doing, arms across the chest, hands overhead. You can also have stayed standing and be reaching down here and then come up and a slight lean back. Now, personally, while this works on a different level of flexibility and balance control, I find the one sitting in the chair a little bit more difficult. So it's really up to you how you're feeling today, what you would like to do. I'm going to come back down to the chair and finish things there. Again, my legs are out straight, my toes are pointed, reach down and come back up. And my feet came off the floor when I did that one, so I'm going to have to control that a little bit. There we go. Did a little bit of a seesaw there. And again, feel free, just arms at the chest. This is a good enough exercise for a lot of people. We're going to use all of these abdominal muscles for this whole session, so don't feel like you're cheating yourself if you're doing arms at the chest by any means. All right, we're going to pause with that one. Now, we're going to do an alternating knee toward the chest. So this is a big march. So I want you to bring that knee as high as you can. Let it back down. High as you can. Let it back down. So we were doing marching kind of down here before. We were doing it for building up endurance. Now we're bringing that knee up as high as we can. And as we do that, we want to kind of tighten up the tummy as though we're trying to bring the chest to the knee while we're bringing the knee to the chest. And if you do that, you're going to feel a bit of tension here in the front of the hip and a bit of tension there in the tummy muscles. And you can hold on for balance if you want to. You don't have to. If this isn't enough of a challenge for you, you can always stick your hands out in front of you. Messes with your balance while you're sitting a little bit. If that's still too easy, you can always bring your arms up overhead. And you'll feel that all of those different types of positions will add a different challenge for you. But for most people, this is a pretty good place to start. And you'll be happy to know that at this point, we've done almost 10 minutes, probably about 10 minutes worth of activity, and we haven't done a sit-up yet. So just keep in your mind that core exercises are not all about sit-ups. Good, keep going. A couple more on each side, knee as high as you can. You can pause at the top too. Hold it there for a few seconds if you want. Hold it there for a few seconds if you want. You'll feel that fatigue kick in even after just a few seconds. We're just trying to hold that up and tighten up those tummy muscles all at the same time. Fatigue is a good thing. It means that your muscles are working. And really at any point, during this exercise session, you have the opportunity to push stop. So if you need to pause it or stop it, that's fine. You do what works for you for this point. We're going to continue on so that if somebody feels like they can continue, then we can. All right, one more on each side. And we're going to do another trunk twist, okay? But this time we're going to stay right where we are. And I like to have people just kind of put their hands together right up against their chest here. We're just going to start off again, small twist. This is not fast. This is not big. This is just a little twist in the trunk. And again, what we're doing as we're doing this is engaging these side abdominal muscles. We call them obliques. As you go each direction, you'll feel oblique muscles on both sides of your body contract. So it's important to go both ways. I'm going to go back side to side just like this. And we stay in a small movement to start and slow movement to start. And you can certainly increase the speed and increase the range as you loosen up a little bit. But don't start fast and don't start with big movements. Now, as always, if you want to make it harder, you can put your hands out in front of you. And that creates what we call a bigger lever. And that bigger lever that you're moving engages those muscles a little bit more. And if you want to make it even harder than that, for what we're doing, I would put weight in your hands. That'll really engage those shoulders quite a bit more. But again, I want you, if you're just starting, if this is new for you, and even if you've done it for a while, I would still recommend that right now we just start with these hands in close like this. Now you should have loosened up a little bit. You should be able to go a little bit closer to that end range. You can hear my chair creaking maybe a little bit. Probably time for me to tighten up those screws a little. If your chair is creaking, at least that means you know you're moving, right? Good. We're going to go a couple more each way. Now I haven't said it in a little bit, so I'm going to say it again now. Don't forget to breathe. Even as we tighten up these muscles in our tummy, that doesn't mean we shouldn't be breathing. Good. I said a couple. I really don't count. You can tell. I say a couple and I just kind of keep going. All right, I'm going to pause. We're going to stay seated. We're going to do a march again, but it's slightly different. We're going to march, but bring the knee kind of up and just slightly cross midline. Up and slightly cross midline. And what that's doing is it's engaging these inner thigh muscles, okay? But it's also just lightly, you'll feel them. You can put your hands on your sides there and you'll feel those little bit of contractions from those oblique muscles a little bit more again. I keep engaging those. You should feel the main one right there in the middle of your stomach pretty much the whole time. But we engage those oblique muscles because we as humans do not spend a lot of time in straight plane types of movements. We do lots of reaching and diagonal types of things all the time. So it's important to engage those oblique muscles and get them accustomed to different levels of activity, so we're less likely to injure ourselves. Your hips are probably getting a little tired because we've done a lot of marching. And I'll tell you, those hip muscles, this is why we do a lot of marching type exercises and a lot of other things with our hips. Those hip muscles help protect our knees, in addition to helping protect our lower back. And of course, they protect our hips too, right? But without good, strong hips and a good, strong core, the rest of your body doesn't move quite as well as it should. If you think of really twisting movements of any kind, you should be engaging your tummy, you should be engaging your hips, and you should allow your knees to bend slightly as you do them. If you ever watch athletes, I don't know if you like sports or not, but if you ever watch athletes, you'll see how much their hips rotate, whether they're doing a martial art, or they're playing baseball, or they're playing tennis, or they're running, or they're swimming. Those hips are moving a lot, and their tummy muscles are engaged the whole time. And without those effective, we call them co-contractions, so muscles working together, we don't get effective movements, and improper movements lead to injury and or pain. All right, we're going to do this for about another 10 seconds. Who knows if I'm going to pay attention to time? Who knows? The more you get to know me, the more you'll realize that I don't watch the clock a lot and I never count. So, but that's probably pretty close. Okay. I said we haven't done any sit-ups and we're still not going to. We're going to do a curl down. All right, so arms are going to come across the chest. This is the closest thing I'm ever going to show you to a sit-up. We're going to tighten those tummy muscles and round, round, round the back to come down toward the knees, and then unround, round, round, coming on back up. So round, 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 coming on down, slowly come back up. You should be feeling that your lower back is kind of rounding in the opposite direction of what it probably normally feels like. Okay? Normally our lower back kind of curves slightly backward. Okay, and it's supposed to. And so as we tighten up these muscles to flex it forward, it should feel like it rounds a little bit backward. It's not going to get rounded up like a pill bug or anything along those lines, but we're aiming for that type of a movement. It gets a little more difficult to talk when I really contract all the way down here, but that's just because I'm squeezing air out of my body, right? And so you don't want to be trying to take in a deep breath when you're down in that position, because of course you won't be able to. This is where you would be blowing out at best. And as you come up, you might take in an inhale, okay? There you go, and come back up. And it doesn't particularly matter which arm is on top, but sometimes it's good just to kind of change them, because you will feel one arm will just dominantly go on top of the other. I almost always cross my right over my left. And while it shouldn't make any significant difference, just like we did rotations to both sides, we want to make sure that we give approximately equal time of joints in similar positions. So like if I cross my legs, and I always tend to cross my left leg, keep going, I should also intentionally cross my right leg at different times, because it keeps up an equal level of flexibility on both sides. All right, we're going to do a few more here. Good. One more, and then I'm going to intentionally have you stand up, because we've been sitting for a little bit, and I think we can stand up for a short period of time. Now, again, if this doesn't work for you standing, or if you need your chair for balance, keep the chair handy. All right, what we're going to do is a march with a reach overhead, but only one hand is going to reach overhead at the time, and we're going to move opposite arm, opposite leg. I did that backward, but you got the point. So if I'm bringing my left knee up, I'm going to bring my right arm up, and I bring it back down. Right knee up, left arm up. Okay? And yes, we're marching again. And no, you don't have to bring your knee up quite as high if you want to start off down here and your arm doesn't go up quite as high for balance purposes, or because you don't have the flexibility. That's okay. Keep a chair handy so that if you lose your balance, you just reach out and you touch it, right? So if I'm here and I'm like, oh, I just reach out and touch my chair. If I'm here and I lose it, I just reach back down and touch my chair. So that chair is there for balance. And again, if you feel good about it and you can go higher, go higher. You'll find that as you do this, you should feel those tummy muscles in addition to those hip muscles. And when you're on the leg that you're standing on, you're going to feel the glute on that side really tightening up. Now, what I want you to pay attention to is that you're not letting the hip drop out to the side when you're putting all your weight on there. Okay, so you'll feel those sides of your hips tighten up while you do this too. It's tightening here, squeezing on the sides, and as you're standing on the leg, you're going to feel that in the glute on the side that you're standing on. Good. It's exciting, isn't it? And again, if you just want to stay just here with it, because that's what your body will allow, I'm going to go back and forth with this. That's fine. If your balance is such that doing this standing is not going to work at all, I'll go back down here again. I can still do opposite arm, opposite hand in a sitting position. Good, just like that. It still challenges me, it's just not challenging my balance. So there is always an alternative way to do it sitting or standing. You keep doing it. If you want to do it standing, stay up standing. I'm going to stay down here for about another 30 seconds, maybe, assuming I pay any attention to the time. Occasionally, I look over slightly to my left because I'm looking at the second hand on my clock. So in theory, I really am trying to stay on time. I'm just not very good at it. So we'll see. Got about another 15 seconds. Good. All right, we're going to go ahead and stop on that one. We're going to stay here sitting again. Open up my knees just a smidge. So if you were standing, sit back down. Arms across the chest again. And this time we're doing elbow to opposite knee. So instead of curling straight down, and again, yep, it's kind of like a crunch. It's kind of like a sit-up, but you don't have to get on the floor. I like these exercises. It's a really good way to engage those tummy muscles without having to put yourself on the floor or on a soft surface. Like you can do sit-ups on your bed, right? You can get in and out of your bed, but it's such a soft surface that it feels kind of funky. It doesn't feel like you're doing things right. So this is a good alternative way to do it, and I'm not straining my neck, right? So that's an important piece too. Again, if you want to make it harder, you can always bring your hands up higher. You can always try to come down lower. You can put your hands up overhead. You're certainly not going to bring your elbow to your knee in that case, but there's no reason to do that if you don't want to, okay? You can stay right here, trying to bring that elbow toward that knee and allow the body to go through that rotation. And by now, you should be sufficiently warmed up. We're way past warm up at this point. Sufficiently warmed up to make this rotation to where we're getting the elbow toward the knee like that, without having to worry about injuring yourself. But you have to pay attention to you, right? If your body says, hey, this is enough movement, then that's enough movement. For people that have fusions in their spines, this might be about all they can get, and that's totally okay. So again, you know what you can do. You pay attention to what you can do. Just remember to purposefully contract those tummy muscles. Make them tighten up. If you make them tighten up, they're doing work. If they're doing work, they're building up heat, and then your body has to cool it down, and that's how we get rid of energy or get rid of calories, right? So again, if you're in this for the calories, make sure you're tightening those muscles as much as you can to ensure that you're creating heat, so you're burning off energy. There you go. All right, we're going to stay seated. We're going to put the legs out in front of us again. Toes are kind of pointed. And we're going to do sets of this one. I'm going to sit, we're going to arms across the chest. I'm going to sit back toward the back of my chair again. And I'm going to alternately lift and lower my straight leg. We call it scissors, right? So we're going to do a little scissor kick. And every time I'm going to put my heel down, okay? So don't feel like you have to keep your feet floating up off of the floor. It's funky to try to do that sitting in a chair anyway. Good, and then we're going to do one, and come back up. Keep your hands there. You can let them down if you need to, but otherwise keep your hands there. We're gonna just be a brief break, and then we go back again, and off we go. Good, keep those tummy muscles engaged. Don't sit all the way back against your chair. You're sitting back, but you're not touching the chair. Just kind of keep moving. One more, and come back up. A little bit of a break. Catch your breath. Make sure as you go back that you keep your spine straight. This should not feel like your back is arching. Your spine should be relatively straight while you're doing this movement. And if you need to go up to the top before I go up to the top, do it. Okay? But if you can stay back the whole time, try to stay back the whole time. One more on each. Good, and then come back up. Remember to breathe, don't hold your breath. Okay, back we go again. Now, if you've done this before and you're really good at it, you can just kind of keep going as long as you want to. You don't have to take the breaks. I take the breaks because I want people to know it's okay to take the breaks. And it also gives you a chance to catch your breath. So when you're back here and you're trying to do this, your temptation is going to be to hold your breath. But I want you to remember that you should not be holding your breath. So if you need to take a pause, come up to the top for 10 or 15 seconds, do that, and then go back and do it again. I didn't tell you how many times we were going to do this, did I? That's because I'm mean. No, I'm not mean. Surprises are good in life, right? All right. And we're going to come back up to the top. And we're going to stay here in the sitting position. And what we're going to do now is we're going to do an opposite knee, opposite elbow. So the knee and the elbow are working together. We can also do this standing. I'm going to show it sitting first. So I'm going to just put my hands up by my ears this time and bring my knee up. And I'm going to try to bring my elbow toward it. Okay? As you guessed, using those hips and we're using the tummy muscles all at the same time. This is a good place to start. We're going to stay right here. Keep those knees coming up and just do a little bit of a twist with the body to bring the elbow toward the knee. They don't have to touch. If they can touch, great. If they can touch, oh, see that one I didn't get to. But they don't necessarily have to touch. We're engaging those muscles. Now, if this is where you want to stay here. If you don't have great balance, stay in a sitting position. I'm going to stand up and show it standing for anyone that wants to try it that way. Still keeping that chair handy for balance just in case. Hands are up, elbow to knee, elbow to knee. You can see again that if I'm standing on that leg, the leg I'm standing on, that glute and hip are working a lot to stabilize. Okay, but this does require a bit of balance. If you don't have the balance, see I even lost my balance there. Go ahead and stay sitting. There we go, good. All right, we're gonna do that for about 10 more seconds. Good. We're gonna pause, we're gonna let the hands down. Now, I'm gonna turn sideways so you can see this. We're gonna do the tiniest bit of a knee bend, okay? But my butt goes back when I do it. Tiny little knee bend, reach down toward my feet. I'm gonna come up, I'm gonna reach up overhead. Not gonna lean back, I'm just gonna reach up overhead. And I'm really gonna tighten up those tummy muscles and squeeze those glutes when I do it. So to reach down, reach up. Reach down, reach up. Butt goes back. Do not lean back. You're going to end up arching your back slightly when you reach up overhead anyway. It's just a natural consequence of reaching up overhead. But do not lean back. Butt goes back. Reach overhead. Now, as you might guess, to make this harder, you would go lower and then come back up. Go lower and come back up. But as I go lower, all I'm doing is keeping my butt back further. I might bend my knees a little bit, but I'm also hinging at my hips quite a bit. This is not about bending your knees more. This is activating those glute muscles quite a bit more. And it's more about the glutes and these muscles on the back of your legs called your hamstrings, which also help stabilize your knee and your hips. That's what this is about more so than anything else. Now again, if you're a sitting person and that is too uncomfortable on your knees, come back down, reach down toward your feet here, reach up overhead, down toward the feet. You can even lean back a little, like we did with that first one. Difference here, your knees are staying bent. Where in the first one that I showed you doing something like this, the legs were straight. Good, I'm gonna come back up into standing. And everybody's gonna come up into standing for the next one anyway. We'll just do 2 more. That was 1. And that was 2. Good. Standing, we're gonna stand with our feet about our hip width apart. Our knees are gonna stay soft, so we don't wanna lock them. Knees are soft, even slightly bent. They might feel slightly bent, that's fine. And all we're doing is reaching across and reaching across. So we go through, again, a little bit of a hip rotation. You see as I rotate, my knee bends, my other knee goes straighter, but it is not locking out straight. Little knee bend with a reach. Engaging those core, engaging those oblique muscles. While you're here, try to think about engaging those glute muscles. We're just reaching across, reaching across. Now you'll notice, I turned my chair, this time with the seat facing toward me. I did that with a purpose, but I'm going to show you again some different things with the chair here. We're not going to sit. We're going to do these next 2 or 3 standing up. We're going to use the chair, possibly, as a place to lean on, okay? I'm going to show you a couple of different angles. Next thing we're going to do is called a plank. Okay? Now, we're going to stop with the reach across, or you keep reaching across while you watch me. I'm going to use my windowsill first. Okay, so I can come over here and I can put my hands on my windowsill and step my feet back and put my body in a relatively straight position. I'm squeezing my tummy and squeezing my glutes, and I'm just resting on my hands here. We're going to be here for about 15 seconds. You can certainly do longer holds if you want to. This depends on how your hands, your wrists, your shoulders, everything else feels. Okay, that's been about 15 seconds. You step back. Okay, an alternative is to go a little lower, right? You go into your chair. And same thing here. All right, hands on the chair. Now look, in my head, I'm going to look at myself and make sure I'm not lying. My head is in relatively a straight line with my spine. That means I've got to keep my chin tucked a little bit. So I'm not looking forward. I'm not doing this. And I'm not looking down. I've got my head in a straight line with the rest of my spine. I'm going to step forward. Okay, that's a plank. It's a high plank. We're doing tummy tight, tight glute squeeze. I'm going to come back to the window again. Show it here. Okay, head. This angle is weird, so it may not look like my head is in a straight line, but I want to keep it there. Good. I'm going to come back up, a little bit of a break, and I'm going to do one more over here. Hands on the chair, high plank, feet go back. I come up into that push-up position. Good, and I'm going to step forward again. Now, we're going to do a side plank, okay? Now, for a lot of people, because it's one arm, a side plank is harder. I have this handy wall here, and I can put my hand down further on the wall wherever I want to, but I'm going to lean and put all of my weight on my hand. This is a pretty low intensity position for a lot of people. It's very difficult for a lot of other people. So if this is where you start, that's fine. For about 15 seconds. And then I'm gonna come bring my feet back. I'm gonna look where my hand is, put my other hand there. Hopefully my hands are clean. I have to turn around, so you won't hear me if I talk unless I look like this. Remember, squeeze your glutes tight and keep your tummy tight. All right, that was 15 seconds. Again, alternative, you can come over to your windowsill. If you've got a lower windowsill, so it brings you down a little lower. There's 15 seconds. I'm going to step in. I'm going to switch sides. Again, tight tummy, tight glutes. I'm going to stand back up. And I'm going to show you the alternative with the chair. So I can put my hand on my chair, same thing. Make sure your chair isn't going to slide. I've got a nice rubber mat down here. Okay, and I'm going to switch into the other side. Now, that seat height is about the height of most couch arms. So if you ever want to just do that or the high plank on the couch arm, that's fine as well. We're gonna wrap it with that for today, except we're gonna do just a little bit of stretching. So we've done lots of stuff that's engaged our tummy muscles and our core muscles. So we're gonna try to stretch those out a little bit. I'm gonna start off, I'm just gonna take one hand, rest it up on my head. While I do that, I'm gonna push my shoulder blade up and I'm gonna lean over to the side. And what I'm doing here is just opening up these muscles in my rib cages, as well as all the way down to my hip. And then I'm going to come back up, let all that relax, just let that arm back down. And take my other arm, put it up on top of my head and just resting it there. Pushing my shoulder blade up and then lean over sideways. You can see I'm not doing a great big lean on this. This is just enough to where I feel this rib cage area open up and a little bit of stretch down toward my hip. Good, I'm gonna come back up. And we work the fronts of those hips a lot. So I'm gonna stay in my chair here, but I'm gonna take one leg and I'm just gonna bring it back. So it's not going down on the floor. I'm just kind of scooting it back as far as I can. I'm gonna keep my body up straight, but I should feel this stretching in the front of my hip here. Don't need to lean back, but if you do lean back, you'll feel that enhance the stretch. Otherwise, just try to scoot the foot further back. Probably need to hold on to your chair depending on what your balance is like. All right, I'm gonna hold on to the chair while I bring my leg forward. I'm gonna scoot over to the other side. Sitting all the way back, and I scoot my leg back. You're hearing a buzzing. Apparently my phone is ringing. Sorry about that. All right, we're gonna bring that leg forward again. All right, I'm gonna sit at the edge of my chair and I'm gonna put one leg out straight, the other one is gonna stay bent. I'm going to use my opposite hand and reach toward that toe, but I'm going to keep my spine straight. So I'm not rounding my back with this. I'm keeping my spine straight. I should feel this mostly in the back of my leg. And now I'm going to round my back. So I'm going to round down to reach a little closer toward my toe. Now I feel a little bit more of a stretch in my back. And I'm going to slowly round back up. And I'm going to switch legs. Opposite leg now. Heel is down, toe pointed up toward the ceiling, knee is straight, opposite hand, back stays straight, lean forward. Sun's coming in through my window, so if I get a little light coming across my face, that'll be why. All right, now we're going to round the spine, so round your back, reach a little further. And we're going to slowly come back up. And now because the lower back tends to get a little bit tired with a lot of these exercises, we're going to stretch out the lower back. So hands on the knees, feet are a little wider than hip width. We're going to round our body down, chin to chest, round the shoulders, round the whole back. If you can reach down toward the floor, great. If you need to stop here, that's fine. You can leave your hands on your legs. If you can go further, you can reach down toward the floor. Okay, now before you go up, whether you reach down or not, put your hands on your knees first, and then use your hands to help push you up, so we're not straining the lower back muscles to come back up. Last thing we're going to do, we're going to scoot all the way back in the chair, put your feet flat on your floor or whatever surface, and you can do whatever you want with your hands. Some people want to come into this sort of namaste yoga type of position. Some people hands on the laps. I just want you to take in a deep breath in through your nose. We're going to hold for up to 10 seconds and then let it out. So in through the nose. And then out. One more time, same thing, in through the nose. And out. And there you have it. Thank you for sharing your time with me today. And welcome to Forte if this is your first class. If it's not, I'm grateful to have you joining any classes that we do. And I look forward to seeing you in the future. Bye-bye.
We here at Forte would like to thank you for watching our video. If you liked it, please give us a thumbs up. If you would like to follow more of the offerings from Forte, please subscribe below. And don't forget to share us with your friends. Enjoy well-being.